we have had this primary for the vice presidency. We've never had anything like this before. People can position and this and that, and people run in the primary to become the vice president, but that involves them attacking other, fellow Democrats or fellow Republicans. There's never been a situation where everybody's just rolling out different ways in which to attack the Republican. And then we get this. And, I think it's very hard to predict what a vice president's going to turn out to be, particularly when one's been a governor. The governors have all different dynamics that go on in different states. It's a function of like, what kind of legislature do you have? What kind of, what kind of other challenges in the state you have? And that's going to change nationally. But it is quite clear, and there are some very good candidates. There's some that I don't like as much. There are some that I do. But it's quite clear that the first thing that you would want, it seems to me, if you're Kamala Harris, is to do no harm. No net negative. But of course, you have some needs too. But let's just look at the possible do harm. There's only one candidate who has, well, I guess Mark Kelly, you could argue as well. Unions have spoken about Mark Kelly, and he quickly changed his position to, I would support the PRO Act now. And as a, that I don't know if that sufficed for unions. I'd be a little bit nervous about where his heart is on this matter. But then there's Josh Shapiro. And here is, let's play this clip. This is number what, 5? 3. If you've got a vice presidential, not nominee, but potential pick, having to justify himself, it seems to me you've got your answer as to whether you want to pick this guy. Just because, why invite controversy? Go.
Supporting a two-state solution now. Can you kind of just talk about that evolution?
Something I wrote when I was 20? Is that what you're talking about? I was 20. Look, I have said for years, long before October 7th, that I favor a two-state solution. Israelis and Palestinians living peacefully side by side, being able to determine their own futures and their own destinies, being able to work as they want and worship as they want, and understand the power of living peacefully side by side and how that will lift up both parties in this, or both sides of this conversation. This is obviously a very challenging situation and has been for hundreds, if not thousands of years. It is my hope that we can see a day where peace will reign in the Middle East, where there will be a two-state solution, where all leaders involved in the conversations will respect the other side and show a willingness to make the hard choices to find peace. And I hope that the U.S. government will always be a partner in peace and trying to find a path forward in the Middle East.
Okay. I mean, look, I would take issue with a number of things there, and this is almost, but to be fair, just to the point I'm trying to make, it's not relevant. But again, I can't help myself. What's going on right now is not a conversation. You have a minimum of 40,000 Palestinians killed. I mean, this is a bare minimum. No reasonable, I mean, not even reasonable. I mean, I don't know anybody who's refuting that the minimum isn't 40,000. Then the question becomes like, are we really talking the actual number right now is 60,000? Is it 70,000? If you have faith in, the prestigious Lancet, they anticipate closer to 200,000 will be killed as a result of this. Regardless, it's not a conversation. It's not a conversation. You could read the papers today And whether you think that the U.S. administration is sincere or not, they are saying they've been lied to by Bibi Netanyahu. In whether they're going to do anything about it is another question. So the symmetry involved here is, I think, a little problematic. The idea that this conflict has existed for thousands of years, that it's like a conflict on religious identity, as opposed to a conflict that involves colonialism and the ethnic cleansing, essentially, of what was Palestine or Palestinian Mandate, or whatever you want to call that area. The fact is, there were tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people expelled from that area. And they're all Palestinians. This is not because of religious differences that have existed for thousands of years. I'm sorry, that's a fiction. That's honestly, it's junior high stuff, maybe junior high, maybe elementary school, and that's only because of poor teaching of that. But my bigger point is, and frankly, this guy's younger than me, isn't he?
He's 51.
He's younger than me. I was 21. I was 20 at one point too. When I was 14, you could see there was a problem going on. So be that as it may, the point is, if you're picking a vice president, why pick someone who's going to drive this measure of controversy? I know what the argument is. Pennsylvania is an incredibly important state. We need to win Pennsylvania. Well, let's just look at the numbers here. He's popular in Pennsylvania, but not that popular. Here's Josh Shapiro's approval numbers. Remember, he ran against, what was it, Doug Mastriano, right?
Mastriano, yeah.
Who was a lunatic. A lunatic. He did good numbers against him, but it's not clear that anybody couldn't have done good numbers against him, particularly in 2022. But look at his polling numbers. 49% of Pennsylvanians surveyed approved of Shapiro, 31% disapproved. 46% of independents approved of Shapiro's performance. I mean, that's good, but it's not great. In April, 54% believed Shapiro had done good or excellent as governor. So his numbers have been dropping, completely divorced from whether he's going to be the Democratic nominee for vice president. I think if you're going to make the argument that we're going to take on this risk, we're going to alienate education activists who were the first people to come out about this. I mean, you can go back to when we were talking to Jennifer Berkshire about this. We were talking about Shapiro's, and that was on day 1 or 2 of the Harris potential candidacy. That was out there. And then this stuff about Gaza, and not just that, it was the way that he went after protesters about Gaza, comparing them to the KKK. And if I have one more Gentile in the media on Twitter, I don't know if your name is like Worthington or Scarborough. I don't want to be called an anti-Semite by these people. Because if my entire family finds out, they're going to be bummed out. Most of them, I think he would consider anti-Semitic as well, though, now that I think about it. But Shapiro's got problems. And then there's, these little tiny scandals that I think are, I don't know the details, frankly, but I do know how they're being reported. I do know that there's controversy around his office saying that someone who was stabbed 20 times committed suicide when he was AG. I know that there was controversy around his office when there was like somebody who had been sexually harassing somebody in the office, and supposedly they didn't make it public or whatnot. Not that he had that, but, you know, people working for him. Valid or not valid, give me the equivalent with Tim Walz. Give me the equivalent with Beshear. They're going to dig up stuff on all these people, but it doesn't look like they're going to even have to do much effort.
Yeah, make them dig.
With Shapiro to undercut Democratic enthusiasm right now for Harris. And the biggest jumps in enthusiasm have been people of color, with black people, with young people. And it also just so happens that those three cohorts are most engaged in this issue about Gaza. And frankly, in protest. And so it just seems like a mistake. Meanwhile, Andy Beshear, people don't seem to know this, put up this guy, he is the second most popular governor in the United States. He is the most popular Democrat, I think, in the country, governor.
96th percentile, if I'm doing the math right.
67% approval rating. Now, to be fair, he's got a red Senate and a red House, and he's not been in a position where he has to do things that would piss off the Democrats. But my point is, I don't know how any of these people are going to be when they're in office. I mean, Walz has done some very good things in Minnesota with a very slight margin. And if it was up to me, I would put him in. It seems like a no-brainer to me. But if you're really concerned, like we need someone to go into, you know, Pennsylvania or particularly Pennsylvania, the guy from Kentucky seems like a pretty good choice. If you really want to send somebody to Forsyth County, Andy Beshear sounds like the guy. If you want somebody to go around with Harris, both literally and figuratively, and speak to, you know, the white working class, someone like Beshear, someone like Walz, frankly, I mean, picture Shapiro in your mind. He's dressed like he's, you know, it's not even Friday casual. He dresses like an internet guy. I'm just saying, like, this is a very superficial analysis, but what are the other things that you need from a VP? You got two governors who have actually been in office twice as long minimum as Shapiro with executive abilities. You got Walz, who's been in both a congressman and a governor. You know, so if you're looking for like depth of ability, that there's no question who the person you go with is. Now there's reports that Pelosi is supporting Walz and Sanders is supporting Walz. Like, that seems like a slam dunk. But here's the thing. If this was the Obama candidacy, you can't do apples to apples, but Rahm Emanuel would say, F the left. We're going to get a sense, not as to whether the left is going to be in opposition to Kamala Harris if she wins, because yes, of course they will. There's going to be a ton of stuff that she does that we're not going to like. And that people, even maybe to the right of me within that spectrum and to the left of me, are not going to like. But this is going to give an indication of just like how much they think they can fight against, let's say, progressives. And if they decide not to engage in that fight, and to avoid that fight, that's a good sign that she's the kind of opponent you want. One that you can beat in certain instances, or at least influence in certain instances.
If we shame Kelly to take a pro-act thing, get all this with Shapiro, and then they end up picking Walls in the end of it, I think it'd be a productive little Veep stakes.
Yeah. Political Pyrony says, my thinking has evolved on Shapiro. I think he might be the best person to stand up to Netanyahu. First off, what makes you think he has interest in standing up to Netanyahu? Second off, there is no having to stand up to Netanyahu. There is no having to stand up to Netanyahu. Look, people like me are being called an anti-Semite. They'll call Josh Shapiro an anti-Semite if they need be. We don't need to stand up to Netanyahu. We just simply say, we're not going to do what we keep doing for you. And good luck. The idea that somebody needs to stand up to Netanyahu, no one is having problems standing up. There's no desire to. So picking a guy who does not see something fundamentally wrong in this dynamic is not the way that's going to happen. That's just...
Did you see Grimm's thread on that? Grimm had a theory that Shapiro would be able to like go to China like Nixon did and be like, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to change our relationship with Israel, and that would be nice. I don't see that actually happening.
No, I don't think that's happening. I mean, I'm sorry. That is wish casting beyond belief. And again, look, I could also make the argument, well, Walls will be the one who gets us, Medicare for all. That's not going to happen either.
Yeah.
This is fantasy talk. I'm talking the election.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the election? And if you're making that calculus, it seems absurd. The only reason why you pick Shapiro at this point is if you think I'm willing to risk a significant portion, significant in the context of how close this election is going to be, portion of my base. That's it. You'll alienate no one with Beshear. You'll alienate no one with Walls. And there's been no established argument outside of the fact that Shapiro has 49% approval rating less with independents in Pennsylvania, and it's on the down trajectory. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.